up, everybody? Welcome back to Mondays Down South. We got Evan on the line here from Virginia this time, and we got the usual crew on. Zach, say hello.
What's up, guys? How you doing? Definitely excited for the NFL draft today.
Welcome to the live draft episode.
Yeah, we got a fun episode here. Obviously, we got the draft going live right now. The Bengals just hit on the clock. We're at about 9 minutes down. So we're gonna be following the draft live, doing some analysis, some recaps, I guess, some predictions, and we got a bunch of guest lines up too. So we got guests of the fans of the teams picking that we're gonna get on to get some live fan reactions. So it's gonna be fun, guys. It's gonna be fun. I think we're bearing through trying to watch our screens with the sound in and like all the technical aspects of that, but we're gonna roll with it.
This is going to definitely be a trial by fire kind of situation. So y'all are gonna have to bear with us while we experiment with this process, because we have no idea how it's gonna go. But all I can tell you is we're super excited about it.
And one thing too, Si, that comes to my mind is I'm watching Trey Wingo right now on ESPN, and he's asking for everyone's patience while the program continues, because he expects inevitable lags during the NFL draft with not only Roger Goodell himself, who's in his basement calling the picks. This is probably the happiest that Roger Goodell is right now, because he just knows he's not going to get booed. Like, this is the first NFL draft that he knows he won't get booed at.
Virtually. What are you talking about? He just got booed for like a solid 30 seconds, 40 seconds.
By who?
By the virtual fans.
He doesn't get that. He can care less. He's in his basement. He hears nothing.
Oh, he heard it.
He even made a comment. But all right, here we go. Cincinnati. I'm curious. This is going to be really interesting for our fans.
You think it'd be quick, but
I'm curious because you think this will be interesting for our fans, because our timing is probably off. How many seconds do you guys see still on your clock right now for the Bengals?
7:30.
All right, I'm right there too. All right, so what do you guys think of obviously the number one overall pick, Mr. Joe Burrow? How you guys feeling about him? You think he's going to do well in the NFL?
I think he's a pretty solid candidate, and obviously given his track record, he looks like he's going to have a very promising NFL career. I think my only concern with Joe Burrow is he really had like a year and a half to kind of prove himself, and he's thrown the incredible receivers and Jamar Chase and also Justin Jefferson. So obviously he's a great player. He's been a part of two great programs in Ohio State and LSU, and he's taken LSU to new heights. Hopefully he does the same in Cincinnati. So I definitely think that is the pick to be made. And I would actually assume that the first two picks are going to be pretty set in stone. I think everyone kind of understands where everyone's going for those first two picks. But in terms of Joe Burrow, I think he's got a promising future.
Speaking of, I think it's the right pick. I mean, from a quarterback perspective, you could argue, Tua is more talented and may have more success in the NFL if he stays healthy. But I think just with the safety of, you think Joe Burrow stays a little more healthy, coming off a huge year. I mean, you'd like to see him prove it over more than just 1 year, which I think is maybe where you question just the consistency of it. But I mean, and he's an Ohio kid. I mean, that makes a big difference. Have a local kid that I think everyone should be able to root for, no problem.
Y'all keep talking about his 1 year like it was like a great year, but it wasn't the greatest season from a college quarterback. That was the greatest season we've ever seen from a college quarterback. It wasn't like, he got 1 year of experience and had a good season. He had 1 year of experience and literally delivered the best thing that I've ever seen in college football history for a quarterback, at least in my lifetime, and I'm sure in anyone's lifetime. We're talking about a guy who won the Heisman. He broke essentially every record you can for a quarterback and then won the national championship. So he clearly has his composure. Also, that swagger, man. I'm just excited to see him ball out in the NFL. And, Zach, you were talking about the receivers that he had. It's not like he's walking into some bad receiver situation. He's about to walk in there and throw the football to A.J. Green and Tyler Boyd, which is better than even what he was throwing to in LSU, because they're NFL, already set up in the NFL with high-caliber receivers. So I'm super excited for him to go to Cincinnati, super excited for him to go home. All of a sudden, Bengals fans are going to be one of the most exciting fan bases in the NFL off this one draft pick. And I don't even think it's a question. As good as I think, even though I think Chase Young is the best prospect in this draft, if you're Cincinnati, you have to pick Burrow. There's no question about it.
Inside, you raise a really good point, because if you think about LSU as a program for like the last 5-10 years, they're known as the DBU, right? Like defensive back university. Everyone flocks there on defense, no problem. They've always had great running backs and wide receivers. The one thing that's never been able to take them all the way is a quarterback. And if you think it's Cincinnati, right? Cincinnati hasn't had the worst defense the last 5-10 years. And they've also, they have Joe Mixon, who's a phenomenal running back, and they also have the two receivers that you had just mentioned, Cy. So if you kind of were to translate like college to NFL, Joe Burrow was like the key holder in the gateway for LSU to finally go all the way and win a national championship. He might be the only piece that Cincinnati needs for them to be also pushed to, an unbelievable season. So we'll see. We'll see if he's that only like missing piece of the puzzle.
We'll see. And we'll see how much swagger he has after a year playing in Cincinnati. I don't know, man.
So the pick is in. I'm not sure if you guys are seeing this or not.
Let's see. I'm still listening to Booger's nonsense.
Yeah, I'm at about 3 minutes, 25 seconds right now. So I don't know.
I think Cy and I were on track. Zach's a bit ahead.
What I'll do is after this pick, I'll just kind of rewind based on where you guys are from like a countdown standpoint for pick 2. That way we can all just do it together.
Yeah, these guests, the guests are gonna maybe be a little bit off, but it's all good. We'll figure it out as we go along. I'm excited.
It'll be fun.
Zach might be a decent bit ahead of us, but it's all right. We already know who the Bengals are going to pick. I'm actually thinking this is a great opportunity for me to bring our buddy on board.
Here we go. Hold on.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Nothing yet. I keep forgetting he's an Ohio guy.
Makes a big difference. I mean, draft a local guy a team can get behind. I mean, that's why I thought it was such a lock to make this pick. And like when they were talking about trading out, I don't know if they were actually really considering it, but like, I don't know. I like bringing a local kid home and having him be the face of your franchise.
Yeah. So the pick is in, but Joe Burrow he's looking a little discouraged. I mean, I can't imagine this going any other way. Here we go.
Dude, I love this.
Okay, they got him. Joe Burrow, first overall pick.
Come on, Zach, spoil it.
The Cincinnati Bengals for pick 2 we'll all be on the same wavelength.
Yeah, you're gonna have to rewind. You're a good bit ahead of us for sure. This is gonna get interesting. I also think now would be the perfect time to add our first guest because we want to preface this one.
The Redskins have made their pick per Rappaport. They've already decided, and there's no trade coming, so that could be a quick one as well.
That's what I'm thinking. We'll add our buddy here real quick.
Look at him. Has he got sweats on? Why has he got sweats on?
Oh, darn. I'm getting these Bleacher Report updates as we go along. And as Burrow gets picked, we are introducing our first guest to the
What is up?
What is up, Matt?
What's up, Mr. Sue?
Guys, not too much. Just waiting on the suspense of what's going to happen at number 2 here.
Yeah, a lot of suspense, but we'll let Cy give an introduction here.
All right, we got 2 DC representatives now, even though one of them lives out west. Mr. Matsu over here. First and foremost, we want to bring you on here and congratulate you on your engagement. This man's getting married this year. We're not going to bring you on here and not talk about that. Excited about that. Very excited about that. Also, Matthew and I went to high school together, and then we also went to the University of South Carolina together. Go Gamecocks. And Matt is a diehard Redskins fan, along with Evan over here. So I'll let them do most of the talking for this pick. But I think you guys already know who you're going to get. So you guys take it away, Matt. You can start us off. What do you think about the Redskins and their pick?
I think they're going to do the smart thing and take the best player in the draft right now.
And who was the best player in the draft, Matt?
They're going to take Chase Young out of Ohio State, Cy. He's a game wrecker.
Agreed. Although I guess the Redskins don't usually do the smart thing, so we'll see.
I challenge you there though, because the last like 3 or 4 drafts, we've honestly drafted fantastically.
Yep.
Anyway,
go ahead.
And I was just gonna say, Matt. So Matt, were you always Chase Young all the way for the last like couple months, or what was your like what were you thinking? In terms of other options on like what they could do with this pick.
I would say probably right as soon as the draft order settled and like those first few mocks came out, I felt good about Chase Young, and then I would say probably like right before the new year, I was getting really on the like, let's trade down and let's get some picks and like get all our capital right around when like Rivera was hired and stuff. So nobody really knew what was going to happen. But then basically in the last like 2 or 3 months, it's been pretty apparent that the guys at like the top of pretty much every team's board that doesn't need a quarterback right now. So I feel like you take the best player in the draft, even if it's not a position of need, it's the right thing to do at number 2.
And you talk about local guys too. He's another local guy, DC
exactly.
So just
gotta love it. Go with Haskins from last year, and I think they're making the right call to just sit with Haskins and let him get another year, see how he's developed. They seem really excited about him, so I'm glad that pick is in. But I'm thinking we probably won't see a Tua Tagovailoa pick right here.
Nah. I was tempted by that also, though, I have to say, but I'm with you here. It's the right move. I mean, trading back to like Zach, I have no interest in trading with the Falcons here. But
I was gonna say
trading back like 2-3 spots to get Simmons or Okudah made sense and get a couple more picks, but I think this is the right move, and it looks like
we're willing to give you everything. The Falcons have gone with the strategy of cash cows. Like we'll take Gurley's contract. We'll take on like Julio Jones and make him the highest paid wide receiver. Matt Ryan was at one point the highest paid quarterback. And I wouldn't be surprised if we just handed you everything on like a silver platter just to get Chase Young. But I'm glad we didn't do something like that because we kind of experimented with Vic Beasley a couple years ago, and he's not even a Falcon anymore. So
we got Zach over here started on the Falcons.
Yeah, I mean,
you guys made a mistake there. Let me ask you guys a question. You add Chase Young. All of a sudden, you got this loaded defensive line of youth. What is your outlook for this upcoming season with the Haskins as your quarterback, getting the full year going? McLaurin on his second year, coming off a big rookie year. What do you guys think?
I think the addition of Chase Young is going to hide a lot of the deficiencies in the defense. Like you have a solid, maybe the best in the NFL front four. Even with guys rotating in and out. So a lot of that can hide some of our weaknesses in the secondary and help our linebackers out a little bit as well. So I think on the defensive side of the ball, we're going to be much better. I still think on offense, we have a ways to go. Obviously maybe with our 3rd round pick, we cash in on one of these receivers or, we try to snag another one to get up. It's a deep draft, but I think receiver and tight end are 2 pretty glaring holes. And then obviously with the Trent Williams situation, not having a left tackle ready to go into the season that has great experience. So I think there's still too many missing pieces. I see like a 6-win season, which if you double the wins that you had from the year before, and you're still in a developmental phase, I feel like that's a win.
There we go. What about you?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think 6 is fair. Another developmental year for sure. I mean, on offense, like you said, like the line is going to be rough. The Trent Williams is key. Like, hopefully they can get a trade and get like a 2nd or 3rd round pick or something, and then you can draft the lineman there as well as a wide receiver in the 3rd round, and then like a corner in the 4th, and that can help stockpile things. But I mean, I think the defense is going to be really solid. I mean, like you said, like that's 6 legit studs on the defensive line, especially when you slide John Allen and Matt Ioannidis as D tackles, and then Sweat and Young and Kerrigan's still there. And we'll see how the secondary is. I mean, the corners are a little, dicey other than Fuller, but I think 6 is fair. I don't think they're gonna be as bad as like 3 wins, but another developmental year, I think.
And I think you'll see with the Young pick too. Like, I bet this is my like bold prediction is Montez Sweat's going to break out in year 2 because he's not going to be the focus at all. And that guy can play. He got after it in the last few games of the season. So, here we go.
He had a good year. I mean, 7 sacks as a rookie. I mean,
oh yeah,
solid.
I'll take it all day.
Playing out of position too, like they were dropping him back into coverage like way too much in that 3-4, which is just ridiculous for him. I mean,
doesn't make any sense. But I think he's going to be in a way better position. That's the whole line is going to be just absolutely eating it up this year. It's going to be ridiculous to watch. Really fun to watch too.
Agreed. I guess we're getting close. I think Matt is. See, he's in DC. I mean, come on.
I like his sunglasses that he's wearing inside in his living room right now.
I thought I was listening to him. I thought he was still wearing his.
He's wearing those Ron Rivera glasses.
The transition lenses.
I love it.
He's just trying to blend in with his coach over here, you know?
Zach kind of got me with that one. What do you guys think about Ron Rivera? That's another big question.
I'm excited. I think, I mean, you know, I think people give Riverboat a lot of crap because, you know, he didn't have a good last few years in Carolina and was always dealing with a lot of the headaches with Cam. But, you know, he took a team to the Super Bowl, and he's a culture guy. Our culture was just an absolute mess in DC. So there's going to be a significantly better path forward, I think. So I'm excited about it.
So here's my thought. As a leader, I could definitely see the point. Did he just get picked? Chase Young just get picked? They're a little bit ahead of us. There you go. There you go. Congratulations, Redskins fans. You guys got in my opinion, easily the most talented. I honestly think Chase Young in the last 4 to 5 years is the best prospect that we've seen in the draft at the defensive, at a defensive position overall. I mean, he was absolutely phenomenal at Ohio State, right up there with Nick Bosa. I think those two are on the same playing field. Congratulations. That's a big time pick.
If he's anywhere near approaching what Bosa did last year, I think, you know, it's a home run kind of pick. But I am curious to see if we make any moves to try to get back up after we traded our second rounder last year for Sweat. So, like Evan mentioned with Trent Williams, we're gonna have something happen here today. I have to imagine we can't be sitting on it past today.
I think once you see who missed out on a tackle tonight, then you'll get that Trent deal. And I'm hearing good buzz on the value there, like actually might get, which is kind of hard to believe. I mean, especially after the Gronk trade is completely different, but it's the same idea. You have a guy that's not going to play for you this year, so you have like no leverage in that sense. But you know, your options are to deal him for anything that you can, or you know, force him to sit out another year.
I actually think you guys have a strong chance of, at the end of the first round, potentially being able to work something out, because a lot of those teams towards the end of the first round that are already high caliber teams that are ready to compete right now, some of their biggest needs are at the offensive line position, and what they can get with Trent Williams versus who they could draft at that point is significantly higher. So that's where I think you could play the role of, like, you know, 8-ball out there and try to get the big player at that point. So, or the big pick at that point. So,
yeah, I like the approach they've taken with it. They could have probably traded him months ago, but you know, I think in the draft a lot you see runs on position. So if we have some teams in the later part of the first round into the second round and we start seeing receivers or running backs start moving, you know, I think there's going to be a team that might drop a little bit more value-wise than they would have a week ago just because their guy might be there. So I'm hopeful that something like that can come through.
Now, Matt, I have the $1 million question for you. You ready?
Yeah.
Who's worse, or what's worse? Kyle Allen's quarterback performance for your golf game?
I'm going to say my golf game. You've experienced it firsthand, and it's not so great. And Kyle Allen at least got some wins last year before completely falling apart. I was not good when we played last, so I'm going to give it to him.
I like that. Yeah.
We appreciate the pure honesty, Matt. Thank you very much for joining us. You've given us some quality Redskins analysis along with Evan. Always good to get some of the high school guys back on here. So appreciate you, Matt.
Of course, guys.
Take care, Matt.
Thanks, brother.
Good luck. Hopefully they don't trade picks. Cy. Good luck with everything, man. The
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
See you guys.
Take care, man. Take care, buddy.
Just for all the listeners, that was one of our best friends, Matt Sue. As we move on to pick 3 here, it looks like the Lions are actually going to select a draft pick here. So I thought that they were going to trade down.
Yeah, it looked like the Dolphins wanted this one, but that doesn't really make sense to me, because if you're the Dolphins, like, you can get Tua at 5 if that's who you want. You can, it seems like they want a tackle, so it's like.
No, I think they're going to get Okudah here, if I had to guess.
No, I'm talking about the Dolphins, but yeah, I think this is Okudah.
Yeah, I think the Lions go Okudah here, but I'm just shocked they didn't make a trade. Like, you would think somebody would want to jump up there and try to snag a quarterback.
I mean, Okudah's legit. I mean,
he's incredible. There's no.
He's very good, very good.
So in your tier rankings of the best players in the draft right now, let's say, I think Chase Young is number 1 for me. Number 2 for me was probably Burrow, just if you're just considering the fact that quarterback is more highly valued, and I'm not just talking pure talent wise. Who's number 3 for you guys, or is there someone higher than those 2 guys for you?
I would probably go with Isaiah Simmons, just because I have a little bit of ACC bias coming from Virginia Tech, but just watching him over his years at Clemson, where he's super flexible. He's like a hybrid offensive line or outside linebacker. He can be slot corner if he gets bored. He's 6'4", 240 pounds, but he's super versatile. And so I think there are so many teams that could use someone like that. Who's kind of like a rover, like linebacker, who's like a hybrid corner linebacker that can just make plays up and down the field. And so I wouldn't be surprised if, he goes 3 or 4 here, but I just think this group is so talented that I feel like you could just really make your argument for any player at this point, especially in the top 5.
Yep.
You could argue 4, but yeah, I don't know about 3. I think 3 is high, but I guess so. Is Derek Brown the other name rumored here? I mean, I feel like it's maybe a bit high for him, but let's see.
I think here we go. It's Okudah. There it is, the cornerback.
Yep.
And this teased me up perfectly, because I was gonna say.
Are we timed out right here? Were we all on the same page here?
I think
no. That's why I was kind of stuttering through my response, because I was like, man, I see the. I got it like halfway through.
You guys teamed me up perfectly, though, because I actually was going to say Okudah is my next on my list after Young and Burrow. I think Okudah is phenomenal. He's a shutdown corner. The reason I would have him higher than Isaiah Simmons is not because I don't think Isaiah Simmons is good. I think it's because Okudah has one thing that he is absolutely exceptional at, and that he'll be exceptional at his entire time in the NFL. Whereas I think Simmons, you still got to kind of figure out where he's going to fit in on your defense. And even though he can be great at a lot of different places, I think Okudah will be exceptional at the thing that he does. So I think it's a great pick for the Lions, because they traded away Darius Slade to the Eagles not too long ago. So they had a really big hole in that area. And also, what else makes sense for that team and with having the coordinator that they do right now and the head coach that they do right now with Patricia leading the squad, I think Okudah fits perfectly into his scheme. So I think that was one hell of a pick for the Lions. I'm actually surprised they didn't trade it away, but I also respect the fact that they didn't. I'm really curious to see if the Giants will now, though. There's a very strong chance that could be a potential pick. It's either trade, I think, offensive lineman or trade, right? Is
I think they want a lineman, yeah. But yeah, there's been, I mean, we'll see. But I mean, who's going to trade up to 4, I guess?
Well, people who want I'm telling you, people who want Isaiah Simmons. He's a legitimate playmaker on defense. And obviously you would want to go offensive lineman here for the New York Giants. They need help up front. But I can't really make out who the best offensive lineman is in this draft. There's a lot of different guys. I guess I would assume they go Wills here from Alabama, but I'm not sure. I think if you were to see a trade, you would see it at this pick.
And that was my whole thing about the Dolphins. Like, they were talking about them trading up not to make sure they get Tua, but for a lineman. And I'm like, I mean, you have some good linemen at the top, but I don't know if there's one that is that far ahead. I mean, I'm not an offensive line expert. I don't know if you guys have much of an idea, but I felt like there wasn't one that was far and above the rest of them. So it was like, if you're at the Dolphins at 5, it's like you figure the Giants are going to take one ahead of you. But I mean, that's okay. I'll just take the next best one, and it's kind of not too far off if that's what they want to do. But yeah, I think this is a lineman here.
Now, if you're the Chargers, do you try to trade into this pick just to ensure that the Dolphins don't even have the opportunity to select between Herbert and Tua?
Yeah.
Is that can come into play?
If they have their guy, and I think their guy might be Tua, right? Because they've drafted a lot of on the right side of their line to protect the lefty's blind side. So I kind of feel like their guy is Tua. So it's interesting.
I was gonna say I think they're thinking that the guy getting picked before is going to be Herbert. I think they think Herbert's going to get taken before Tua, and I think they want Tua more from what I'm hearing. But obviously, teams are very good at putting up smoke screens. So you can never be too sure about anything, but I would think that it wouldn't really make a ton of sense for the Chargers to trade up. However, if there's another team that wants one of those two guys and is worried about them getting taken, they could be the team that trades up. So I don't think it would be the Chargers. I think it'd be somebody else who's in the lower half of the top 10 or in the 20s range or 10s range. But they'd have to give up a lot because it's a high pick. So it's a tough one.
To Zach's,
sorry, go ahead, Ed.
No, I was just going to say, to Zach's point, though, it's like quarterback is interesting because it's like, well, it's not interesting, but it is interesting, but it's like, it's not surprising, but it's like, when you're thinking about two different quarterbacks, it's like, in no cases, it's like, well, if this team ahead of me picks this guy, then I'll be okay. I feel like quarterback is that position where it's like, you're like, I prefer this guy or that guy. So it's a good point. I mean, it's like, and the Dolphins have done a good job of like making it not clear at all who they prefer. I'm almost betting that the Herbert buzz was a smokescreen because I think it came out earlier today. They're leaning Tua, but whew.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Especially because Herbert, you got to imagine that before all of this, draft talk happened and before the season ever happened, Herbert a year ago was being projected as the number one overall pick. And obviously Tua and Burrow kind of blew up college football the last 2 years and kind of took over. But Herbert's that 6'6", 220, that perfect like quarterback build that everybody always sought out. And even though the position is forever changing, you almost think Herbert is the safer bet given the fact that Tua has had all these injuries with the hip. Obviously, if the injury concerns weren't there, I think we'd all be consensus agreeing that Tua would be the higher pick. But Herbert, hasn't had that kind of past and seems like somebody who could step in day one and be ready to go with no injury risk. I personally would still take Tua. I think the upside that you get with Tua Tagovailoa is unquestioned. You could almost argue that his upside is higher than anyone else's in this draft in terms of what he brings to the table. He's got a little bit of Drew Brees in him. He's got a little bit of Russell Wilson in him. And I know comps like that get made a lot, but this is one of the few times that I truly believe that is the case. And he's proven his pedigree, for example, coming in halfway through a national championship game and winning his team the national championship. And things like that are just storybook kinds of things. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised to see Tua get picked over Herbert, but I'm just more surprised to try to figure out what the Giants are going to do here because it seems like it would be a little bit high to take Willis right now, which would be the offensive tackle from Bama, even though I do think Willis is the best graded tackle in this draft. So,
So then who do you pick here?
I think you trade this pick if you can. If not, I think you go Derek
looks like
Brown.
They're not.
If not, you take Derek Brown or you take Isaiah Simmons. Those are the two guys that I
could see Simmons here. I think you're picking a tackle though.
But I also don't think taking Willis is a terrible pick here. I'm just saying, like, you could potentially drop down a few picks and still get him if there was some sort of trade happening. Here's a big question for you guys, though. Do you think trades are less likely in this draft because of the potential technical issues / like all the loopholes that you're having to go through that you normally wouldn't have to go through if you were in the same area drafting? You don't think that affects it at all?
No, I don't think so. I think the Giants were 100% trying to trade their pick, which is why it went down to the last minute here. I mean, I think they just made their pick with 1:09 left on the clock, but they just submitted their pick now. See, this is going to be fun because for the first three picks, they were relatively predictable. I think all three of us had those players going to the allotted teams. This is where things get interesting because at this point, based on this pick, everything changes. The entire draft.
I think specifically the next one, like this one will be like, we know they're not taking one of the quarterbacks.
True.
So, and I mean, if they were to like jump for Simmons, I think that'd be really interesting. Or even Derek Brown, but
I actually disagree with you guys on that. I think the toughest pick to kind of gauge was not the toughest to gauge, but the one that changed everything was pick 3. Because if the Lions had made a trade instead of drafting Okudah there, then all of a sudden, if somebody moved into 3 and took a quarterback, then this whole draft complexion changes. By them taking Okudah, a prospect that somebody else in the top 10 is gone. Because Okudah, people were potentially thinking, hey, you might drop to 4 or 5, and then teams might try to jump up and go grab him because he's the consensus number one quarterback, or not cornerback in this draft. I think by them taking Okudah and the Giants not trading, now things get interesting because if for some reason Simmons gets picked right now, the motivation to trade up for one of those defensive guys goes down because I don't think the odds are that people are going to be trading up for the tackles in this draft. And all of a sudden, the two teams that want a quarterback are going to be sitting there with their picks with a quarterback available to them. You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden it becomes a wash for them if this goes the way we think it's going to go.
And what we do know though is Los Angeles Chargers said, we're going to play our cards here. We're going to have Miami show their cards. We're going to take the risk. We're not going to trade. And we're not going to lose any of our leverage. We're just going to cross our fingers and hope that Miami picks the wrong guy.
You think their thought was no matter who Miami picks, we're happy with the other quarterback? You think that's the way they were thinking? You think like their mentality was, hey, if Miami takes Tua, then we get Herbert. If Miami takes Herbert, then we get Tua. Either way, we consider both of them to be potential franchise quarterbacks.
I'm gonna wait. I just saw the pick.
Zach knows something that we don't. I think you're gonna need to rewind a little bit here, buddy. We're gonna keep getting these reactions from you.
I can't rewind on this TV.
Fair enough.
I tried doing it on the second pick. You guys will see it in about like 10 seconds here.
Fair enough.
Very interesting.
Zach, you are so far ahead. You're a full minute.
Yeah, you're
really?
Way ahead of us.
Wow.
That's why we're sitting here waiting for the next pick here, kind of with the lag time.
This is a good pick. This is a good pick for them.
It's got to be Simmons then, right?
Nobody we mentioned.
Derek Brown?
Nope. All right.
Wow, man, that feels like a reach. I'm shocked they went Thomas. They went
Andrew Thomas, fourth overall pick, tackle Georgia.
They went Andrew Thomas over Willis. You really don't think they could have traded down to the lower half of the top 10 and gotten Andrew Thomas?
I bet they tried.
I bet you they tried because, this guy in every mock draft that I was looking at was getting drafted from anywhere from 12 to 18.
That's what I'm saying. That's shocking they took him at 4.
Pick the guy you like, I guess, right? And I guess they couldn't figure out a trade, get the tackle you like.
We know that that's their strategy, given the fact that they took their quarterback, Daniel Jones, like with the 7th or 8th pick last year and got destroyed for it. Although I think now looking back at it, they're still pretty happy to have gotten Jones. I think
I forgot. I got to get my guest on.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, for Miami. But and Ev, while you work on getting the guest on, to Sai's point earlier, I think you have a good point, Sai, in terms of do you think the Chargers are just okay with their decision? Whatever Miami ends up choosing, they'll get the other guy. And I see a lot of benefit with that because you're either going to get Tua, which is a great pick, or you're going to get a little bit more of a question mark in Justin Herbert. But if you look at the other Los Angeles team, they did the same thing. Well, they went out and got Jared Goff, but he was a Pac-12 California guy. So, you have someone that's from the West Coast, like in Justin Herbert, who's played in the Pac-12, and he's probably a favorite on the West Coast. You can't really go wrong either way, in my opinion.
Well, here's the thing: do you actually think Herbert is more the question mark, or do you think Tua is more the question mark? Because if they're both healthy, then I would agree with you that Herbert is more the question mark. But we don't know how his hip actually is. Even though he's reported to be healthy, we have not seen him play a football game since then. So that's
true.
Looks like we got somebody jumping on here.
Lou, there he is.
Hey guys, how's it going?
What's up, my man? Hey guys, this is my buddy Lou from Raleigh. We got Sai up there. I don't know what it looks like on your screen, and Zach is the other co-host here. But,
what's up, Lou? How you doing, man?
Good. It's a pleasure to meet you guys.
Excited to have you on the show.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens here with my Dolphins.
I think we all are, my man.
You got it. I can't wait. Who do you think you guys are going to pick, and who do you want you guys to pick?
I think the answer to both those questions is Tua. I think there's been a lot of talk, and there's been no moves before the 5th pick, which I've been worried about. But you got to think we're taking a quarterback, and my guess is Tua. Even though there's been reports saying they lean away from him and lean towards Justin Herbert, I think they're going Tua.
You think it's a smokescreen? You think they're just trying to tee that up?
I think they're trying to throw people off, and they're trying to get people to hope they can trade up to 6 or 7 and try to grab them. But I think they've known all along. It's been tank for Tua has been the motto all last year. Even with the injury, I still think he's the better quarterback, and I think that's where they're leaning.
How stressful was that 4th pick for you? Were you freaking out the whole time about somebody trading up to the Giants? Because they took their
I was worried about the 3rd pick. I was worried about 3, someone trading up with the Lions, and then I was nervous about both. But you know what? It's looking good so far, and I think the fans want Tua, and I think that's where we're going. So
that's awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing this. And meanwhile, tell us a little bit more about yourself. Where are you from? Where'd you go to school? We want to hear a little bit more about that for the viewers and for ourselves too. It's the first time meeting you, so.
Yeah, so I'm originally from New Jersey. Went to school in Charlotte, North Carolina, and now live in Raleigh. I met my boy Evan here. So, so I've been in Raleigh for 4 years now, and enjoying it down in North Carolina.
Awesome. How'd you become a Miami Dolphins fan?
Good question.
I caught the end of the Dan Marino phase. And watched the last couple of years of him and started rooting for them, and hasn't been great since, but we're hoping to turn it around soon.
Well, I was about to say, Lou, no wonder you moved from Jersey, because I'm sure there's a good combination of Patriots and Giants and Jets fans up that way in the Northeast. So I'm sure you just tried to escape all the trash talking from your buddies up there when the Dolphins were losing 2 games a season to the Patriots.
Well, the problem is they haven't been good, so there's not real much trash talk. It's just kind of like, oh, you're the Dolphins, are you? We're used to this, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, lots of Jets fans, Eagles fans are what they are, and then Giants fans around. But
yeah, and I know that the pick is in now.
Yeah, Zach's ahead. I don't know where you are, Lou, but Zach is ahead of us.
We have a couple more minutes before it'll get released. Okay. Lou, in terms of some of your other picks, I know the Dolphins have 3 picks in the first round. Are there any other guys that you're targeting specifically that you would like to see a Miami Dolphin?
I specifically, position-wise, I know we need to go offensive line is something we definitely got to get with one of these other 2 first-round picks. Mm-hmm. And we've made a lot of good defensive moves in the previous weeks in the offseason. Got some young guys who were some previous first-round picks. So I think defensively we can wait till later in the round to kind of beef up a little bit. But if we could grab a running back to kind of pair with Jordan Howard, I think that would be nice.
Sure.
But I think offensive line is the main thing.
Hey, he's better than Kalen Ballage.
That's true.
Hey, I will say the Dolphins got a lot from the Texans, which I guess if you want good value, trade with the Texans, because they'll give you everything they have for what you trade these days. But no, I think ultimately the rebuild situation clearly was defined last season with the trades that you guys made. It was very clear you guys were ready to, with Tunsil trading him away, Drake trading him away, trading away Minkah Fitzpatrick. What did you trade with Minkah Fitzpatrick? I'm kind of blanking on that.
We traded. Now, right? That's how we got our another first round pick. We got our 18th pick from the Steelers. But I was just gonna say, I see they drafted Tua, so I'm happy about that.
Yes, sir.
Oh, there it is.
Tua, welcome to Miami.
Congratulations.
I think he'll fit in. I'm pretty happy about that. I think,
man. That's great.
I think it worked out that they didn't have to fully tank last year, and they got the guy they wanted. So I think this is a win-win for the Dolphins. I'm pretty happy.
Your organization just became so much more fun to watch. I can't even.
Yes, I know. I just got so excited seeing that pick too.
It's a good pick. I'm happy about it.
Wow.
You got Fitzpatrick there to play a year, let Tua get healthy and learn the offense, whatnot, and then maybe later in the year he can play. I thought this was the perfect fit the whole offseason.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
That's a great point. I didn't even think about that. They already have a veteran presence who will get Tua acclimated very well.
Yeah. Tua's which is true for pretty much all these teams except for the Bengals. But I thought it was the perfect fit. I don't know. I just think it makes sense. You guys got a lot of other pieces in place with the free agent signings and all the draft picks.
The other thing I will say is he is one of those guys that truly deserves to get picked top 5. I was going to actually be really sad for him if he fell too far, because given the talent that he has, the poise that he has, the way he carried himself at Alabama, talent-wise, there's no question that if he didn't get hurt, you probably would have seen him get taken number 2. So the Dolphins being able to stay there, get him at 5. If he gets healthy, even at pick 5, this is crazy to say, but it could be the steal of the draft to pick 2 with Tagovailoa at number 5, because you potentially just got one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL 10 years down the road. We're talking. I was saying this earlier to Evan and Zach. He's got like Drew Brees and Russell Wilson tendencies all written all over him. So I'm excited.
Sure.
Man. Congratulations.
You know what? I think it's a risk, but I think it's a risk we had to take, and let's hope it pays off. We'll see what happens.
And the injury risk thing is so interesting to me. Like, I'll compare it to the NBA. I mean, I was like, might have been back when I was in college and the Sixers were going, and like Joel Embiid, and it was the same offseason where Gordon Hayward signed to like an insane amount of money, and the Joel Embiid contract was either similar or less or something, or it was like a similar amount of money. And the question was, because you were paying more for Gordon Hayward than what he had produced, so it was like, what am I going to bet on? Am I going to bet on that Joel Embiid, who I know when he plays is an absolute superstar, which is almost like Tua? Like, I know if he's going to play, he's going to be legit. Mm-hmm. Or am I going to draft maybe Herbert, or in the other analogy, Gordon Hayward, and project him more than what he's done in his career to this point, which is kind of logical. It's like, I'll bet on the guy just to stay healthy if I know he's going to be a superstar, then like hope that this guy is actually more than he's done in his career to this point almost. So I thought that was an interesting point back to the NBA analogy. And granted, Joel Embiid hasn't been very healthy, so maybe it hasn't been out of their favor.
But when he has been on the court, he's been terrific, and I think that's hopefully what we see from Tua too. Yep. Well, hey, thanks so much, Lou. We appreciate you jumping on, man.
Hey, I'm glad for letting you. I'm glad I could share it with you guys. This was a great moment. I think this is going to be a big moment for the future of the Dolphins. So.
Yes, sir. Well, hey,
I appreciate you guys having me on.
Of course, man. Appreciate you jumping on. You have a great one, man.
You guys
see you later, man.
Take care, brother.
See you later.
Good man. That's a super exciting pick. Honestly, I'm very glad that we were able to have a guest for that pick, because that might be the most exciting.
That was
that
was the biggest pick, I think.
Yep.
So.
And it's just great to have somebody representing the Dolphins. That was great. Great.
Yeah. And
now
we got moving on to the Chargers over here. Do you even think they go after Herbert? I mean, you have a legitimate presence in Tyrod Taylor, who could very well start with that organization. We've been talking about Cam Newton. We've been talking about Tyrod Taylor. Who is going to be the quarterback for the Chargers? Do they even go after Herbert?
I think, and maybe this is the bold prediction, I don't know, maybe you guys will agree, but I think they pass on Herbert and go somewhere else.
If they were going to pick someone other than Herbert at this point, you go Isaiah Simmons. That's not a question in my mind.
Yeah,
100%.
I would pick him because then you add to that lethal defense that you already have. The other thing you could think about is potentially Derek Brown, because then you all of a sudden give Joey Bosa Derek Brown next to him, and that D-line becomes nasty, on top of the fact that you already have Melvin Ingram as well. So, that's a potential pick. So any of the defensive guys can make their defense filthy. But I actually think here, I would be surprised if they didn't pick Herbert, because I think Tyrod is that perfect bridge for them to have him for a year or two while Herbert kind of, gets his feet like under him. And then I think Herbert I would be shocked if he wasn't the pick here. And if he doesn't get picked here, how far does he fall? I mean, there's a potential that if you don't pick Herbert, maybe they trade this pick to somebody who does want Herbert, because I don't see any of these next two teams picking Herbert right now with Carolina and Arizona. Maybe there's a lot of trades that could happen if Herbert doesn't get picked here.
I think if he doesn't get here, he slides to like maybe the low teens where a team trades up to get him. Mm-hmm. Or Jacksonville.
Also, I'm gonna reach out to my buddy. So you guys keep chatting while I.
Oh, Carolina's next. Yes.
Sure.
Lock and loaded here. Zach, what's your prediction here?
So it's tough, because you either draft Justin Herbert, who's got a ton of potential, had a great tenure at Oregon. That's undisputable. But do you want to prep him? Maybe not get back into domination like they had in the last couple of years. Next year, do you wait a couple of years, try to get him up and running, have a veteran presence in Tyrod Taylor, kind of build him into the quarterback that that San Diego wants him to be? Or do you try to win now and you go after Derek Brown, or you go after Isaiah Simmons, two incredible athletes who could arguably have been, the number 1, 2, or 3 picks in any normal draft, excluding this one, obviously. But it's really difficult, because I can see the Chargers totally scrapping the quarterback idea if they really wanted to get Tua super bad, and they just go ahead and they play another card here, and they get the best defensive tackle right now in the draft and Derek Brown, or they go Rover outside linebacker and Isaiah Simmons. I can see them very well picking either of those guys.
Yeah. I'm just not sold on Herbert, to be honest with you.
I'm not either. He kind of reminds me of
What's up, guys?
We got my buddy.
What's up?
We got my buddy Hunter McKenzie on the line. We got him on a little bit early, actually, because we're still waiting on the the Chargers pick here, but I figure we get plenty of time to talk about the Panthers with them on. Hunter,
can you hear me?
Yourself. I can't.
Yeah,
we cannot see you though.
What's up, Hunter?
I think it's on the brim of your cap. If your
we
camera.
can tell you're a Panthers fan. But...
There he is. How's it going, Hunter?
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Can you hear us? Good old technical difficulties.
I think we're having some technical difficulties with Hunter.
Hunter, can you hear us?
I don't know how we made it this long without having any, though, to be honest.
I'm pretty impressed, actually. I don't know if you can hear us.
For those that obviously weren't here, I mean, we were struggling about 5 minutes before the draft trying to figure this all out. So.
I got a text from Hunter saying, "Can't hear me. I can't hear you." Okay.
All right.
Y'all are about to see the pick real quick.
All right, they did it. They did
Justin Herbert goes 6th overall to the Los Angeles Chargers. Guys, they're listing out fun facts. I didn't realize he was Sunshine from Remember the Titans. That was pretty interesting.
I did not know that either.
Wait, what?
All right, we're re-adding Hunter now.
Wait, Zach, what you mean?
What's up, guys?
It's identical to that
Can you
dude.
hear us?
Yeah, I was about to say.
I can't hear you.
You cannot hear us. If only NFL draft had these kinds of technical difficulties. Let me.
Fans, we are experiencing some technical difficulties right now. We will be back up and running in a couple minutes.
Hunter can't hear us. Okay, I'm trying to think about how to do this.
Tell him to restart his crappy
Hello.
2010 Mac.
Give him the dial.
Hunter?
Give him the old dial.
Give him a little dial. Okay, let me try to think about how to do this here.
Yeah, that's not gonna work.
Can you still not hear us? Okay.
So I will say, Zach, while they're figuring that out, I mean, this
Yeah.
is how I thought it would go the entire like when the draft order came out. This is like how everyone thought it would go. I feel like, but it's just like with all the smoke screens and all the news before this, it's like almost shocking to see it kind of play out chalk.
I can hear you guys.
Hunter, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh,
Hey!
Hey, there we go.
Perfect
What's
timing.
up, Hunter?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Yes,
man.
sir.
Of
We're
course,
excited
man.
to have you on board. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my buddy Hunter McKenzie, also known as HMAC, also known as the GOAT on the football field. This man runs like a 4.2 40, so we thought it'd be perfect to have him on for the draft. Hunter, we cannot fully see your face. I don't know if that's by design,
pretty good. There you go.
but
How about
he's
now?
a very handsome man, so we want to make sure we can see you. Hunter, you came in at the perfect time because it looks like the Panthers are on the clock.
Yep.
What are you thinking about this pick? Where do you think you guys are going to go, and how are you feeling about the Panthers right now? Because I know you have some thoughts.
Yeah, well, first off, thank you for the kind introduction, Ty. Yeah, so the Panthers, a lot of changes going on. It's really hard to predict anything they're going to do right now. When Ron Rivera was fired and we, hired a new head coach, we hired a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. I guess I thought, and what most fans would think, is complete rebuild, right? Start over. They're going to bring in their new staff, their new guys, everybody they want. But then we signed Teddy Bridgewater to a pretty good deal. We went out and re-signed Christian McCaffrey. So some of those moves that we've made throughout the offseason just kind of make me think, hey, we're not trying to rebuild. We're trying to win right now. So really hard to predict what we're going to do right now. I think the obvious pick is Isaiah Simmons. That's who I would love to see us take. I think Derek Brown is definitely in play. And then, of course, the Panthers are always liable to do something that you don't see coming, like take a quarterback or a wide receiver or something that's just completely unexpected.
So, Hunter, I wanted to jump in on this because I think undisputably Isaiah Simmons is the guy to get right now.
Yeah.
One person that he reminds me of more so than any other player in the NFL is Shaq Thompson and his versatility at the linebacker position.
Sure.
Do you think you would need two of them? Like, would you want two of them, or would you rather go get a guy like Derek Brown, especially after losing, McCoy and Poe and a couple of those other guys?
Yeah, so obviously we spent a lot of money on Shaq Thompson, re-signed him last year, pretty big contract. So we've got some money invested there already. That's a good point. But Phil Snow, our new defensive coordinator, he runs a multiple scheme, and I think that he could really make those two guys work if we wanted to invest in something like that. Derrick Brown, he's a good player. I want more of an impact if I'm drafting in the top 10, honestly. And I think you get that in Isaiah Simmons.
And the other thing is, with your new management, it's hard to even know, right? Because it's not like if Riverboat Ron was drafting right now, I would think very strongly that Derrick Brown or Isaiah Simmons would be the pick because he loves his defense and he loves building from the roots and the ground up. I think there's a lot of different needs that you guys could address. So like you said, it's hard to address. I will say, you were talking earlier about that Christian McCaffrey contract. I actually think as far as running backs go and paying a guy a lot of money, that was one of the better signings I've seen in a while because you guys got him, even though it was a big money deal, you have him in the prime of his career, and he's going to come off that deal when he's like 27 or 28 or something like that. So you literally have him through all of his best years, coming off arguably one of the best seasons I've ever seen from a running back who played receiver and running back ever. So I thought it was a great signing. I'm actually kind of surprised to see you guys didn't trade this pick. Like, some part of me was nervous we were going to bring you on. It was going to be like, Carolina trades their pick. Well, things are coming on, Hunter. So it was surprising.
I definitely thought that a trade could be a possibility. And, maybe thinking about it, if you trade back to mid-first and you can get Javon Kinlaw from South Carolina, I think that he would give, the same impact that Derrick Brown would. And maybe you get another day 2 pick out of the trade.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that's great that you made that reference because H-Mac over here went to University of South Carolina with me. So obviously both of us would be more than happy with our respective teams getting Kinlaw, but mine is no longer in a position to do so. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm really curious, though, and I agree about the Teddy Bridgewater signing. I think we talked about it briefly previously, Evan and Zach, but I was very, very surprised, not because I don't think Teddy Bridgewater has the potential to be a franchise quarterback, but because I truly believed that the team that would sign him would be a team that was ready to win right now, because Bridgewater last year proved in yours and Zach's division with the South, with the Saints last year, that if you give him the right pieces, that man can go win games. So really curious to see what the Panthers' thought process was on that. I guess maybe they think he's got many years of his prime left and they can rebuild around him and McCaffrey, but that's interesting.
Yeah, I just think there's so many holes on the defense right now that they need to fill. Bottom tier team in the league last year defensively. To me, it didn't make sense bringing in Bridgewater. Like you said, that it seemed like a signing that a competing team would make, which I wouldn't consider the Carolina Panthers right now.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Do you think there's any potential for you guys taking a Jerry Jeudy or a CeeDee Lamb or somebody like that to help out Bridgewater a little bit more? I know you have Curtis Samuel. I know that situation is there, but sometimes when the value is there, it's hard to say no to some of these top guys. So I was curious to see what you thought about that.
Yeah, so and our new offensive coordinator, former LSU offensive coordinator Joe Brady, he runs a lot of vertical sets with 4 wide. And we made some wide receiver moves in the offseason. We brought in Robbie Anderson. I like him a lot. I think he'll do well.
True. That's a big signing.
Yeah, I like him. This draft is so deep in the wide receiver class, in my opinion. I think that you can get somebody that would be useful for us on day 2. I would love CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy, maybe closer to the mid round. How picky are you going to get?
That's true. And I think one point that people have been making is that this is not the draft where you're going to get a Julio Jones or a Calvin Johnson out of it. So there's no reason to trade up for a wide receiver. It's taking the value that you get because it's so deep. Second, third round, you're still getting started top wide receivers. And here's the selection right here, Hunter McKenzie. I think Zach's already seen it, so I'm curious to see. You see it?
I'm a little behind here.
You're a little behind? All right, we'll wait for you because
we'll wait for your reaction because I'm really curious to see your face, Hunter, when you see this pick.
Go for it. You got it.
Am I really behind? Have y'all already seen it?
I just saw it.
I just saw it about 10 seconds ago.
Zach, you are really fast.
Man.
Are you sad about it?
I'm disappointed.
Derrick Brown goes to the Carolina Panthers, ladies and gentlemen. For all the viewers, Derrick Brown, defensive tackle, University of Auburn. Hunter, thoughts?
if it makes you feel any better, Hunter, he was supposed to be a top 5 pick. He was graded as
he's good.
I think he was graded right behind Simmons and Okudah. So he definitely is a value with the pick that you got him at, because there's a strong chance he could have gotten taken before here. So it's not like you didn't get a great player. It's interesting that they didn't go Simmons. I think it was the thought, though. Yeah.
Agreed. We got a good player at a dire position of need. We needed inside interior defensive line. I think that Derrick Brown, he's developed already. I think he can play in the NFL right now. I wonder if he's close to his ceiling already. But he's a good player.
He reminds me of Marcel Darius. Didn't Marcel Darius go to University of Auburn too?
I think he went to Alabama, but I could be wrong.
Did he go to Alabama? Let me check that. I know he was an SEC guy as well.
Yeah.
But he's big. I mean, he's definitely going to give you the size that you need down low in your interior, which is good.
For sure.
Cam wants Simmons, I think.
He wants Simmons.
It's a good pick, just not not a sexy pick, but I think it's a good pick, good value there.
Darius did go to Bama.
I'm a strong believer in the building from the interior out, and in that way, I think it's a great approach, because now you're beefing up the lines, which is very important for long-term success. This guy, I don't remember if you guys went a 3-4 or not, but he definitely is one that can cover both gaps, which is the beauty of him, because he's fast, can cover both gaps, and rush the passers. So, Hunter, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
We also have somebody coming on for the Cardinals pick, so we got to get him on board as well. But HMAC,
appreciate it, man.
As always, buddy. Stay safe. Enjoy that new puppy of yours. We'll talk soon.
Will do. Thanks, guys. Keep pounding.
Bye. Evan, you adding? Are you adding Cam or?
I don't have his thing. You got to do it.
Okay, I think I should add it. Let's get Cam on here.
I was waiting for that moment that one of our guests was going to be really disappointed by the pick. So
it was satisfying seeing that. But
we're not going to get Cam in here. This is too tight, I think.
Well, I don't know. I think we have time. Usually when it says the pick is in, there's about 4 or 5 minutes for them to.
We can get him after the pick.
So quickly then, Zach, who's this? Is this Simmons?
So I would imagine this is Simmons. I mean, I can't imagine Simmons slipping any more than pick number 8. But one thing that is surprising to me, Evan, is I haven't seen a trade yet, and this is wild. Like you would think at this point there would have been a trade. Oh, it looks like the selection is right here.
Where's Cam?
It's all good. Even if he comes on a little late, we can still get his reaction.
And even after 8 picks, there's no trade. And guys, this is a pretty predictable pick, so I'll just list it right now. It's Isaiah Simmons, outside linebacker for Clemson. I think this is a phenomenal pickup for the Arizona Cardinals, stealing him at pick number 8. I'm all about this, and I definitely think that the Arizona Cardinals have made some really good off-season moves with the acquisition of DeAndre Hopkins.
Here he comes.
Oh, is there he is? Hey.
Isaiah Simmons. That at number 8, what are the odds you get arguably the second or third best player in this entire draft at pick 8?
What's up, Cam?
That's a stretch, but Cam, give us a reaction.
Well, Cam, we got to hear it, bro.
I might be delayed on the feed. I'm still waiting for the pick to come in.
Oh, that's awkward.
We may have told you
much
already.
A given. Well, because I'm pretty sure Keim already said if for some reason yes.
There we go. I think Cam thought we were lying to him or something.
Actually, mine just came in, so I'm online with Cam here.
I thought you were just assuming because Keim basically already said if somehow he fell that far, we were going to take him. Because this is a nice thing. We patched up in free agency the other defensive needs that we would be satisfied. I think we needed an edge rusher, an interior lineman, and a middle linebacker, and we signed 3. So we at least had someone. So on top, it basically allowed us to take whatever the best value pick was at the time, which is super nice. If Isaiah Simmons was already gone, then Kyler was pitching for CeeDee Lamb. Just at number 8.
Why would you need another wide receiver right now? You just went and got DeAndre Hopkins. You have Larry Fitzgerald, and you have Christian Kirk.
Tyler
most loaded wide receiver units in the NFL.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Cliff Kingsbury just went out and drafted a Texas Tech receiver, number 8. He's just so offensively minded that he's corrupting the organization.
That's amazing.
Cam, this might have had one pick though, man. I'm really impressed with this pick. I was telling the guys earlier that I was really high on this guy. I actually thought he was going to go to the Giants at 4. I thought people were arguably going to trade up with the Lions to get him. People wanted this guy so bad. So the fact that you guys got him at 8 is a great pick for the Cardinals. And you guys are making a lot of offseason moves with the acquisition of Hopkins. And, now Kyler's got somebody to throw to. You mentioned the defensive guys that you guys pulled in this offseason. And then now you guys just drafted Isaiah Simmons. We'll see what the Cardinals do this year, man. This is going to be interesting.
It puts Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury on quite the hot seat right now because
at
this point you don't have any excuses, right? Like you kind of have the whole offense set up. You start adding these pieces. Now, granted, our Cardinals are clearly in a very tough division, so it should be really fun to see how that division shakes out this year. But I'm honestly jealous. I can't believe you guys just had Simmons sitting there for you at 8. I can't even call it a good pick. It's the most obvious pick in the draft.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, how do you not take him?
Dude, we're killing it in this offseason right now. I'm loving it.
Big moves.
Well, and I made the last year before the season started in our group chat, I was saying so long as we could just get 5 or 6 wins last season, this season, then in this draft this year, we could focus on our defense, which would then elevate us. If we could get 5 to 6 wins with a bad defense and a promising offense, then the next season of one more year of Kyler, one more year of Cliff, and then drafting up some defensive players, we could at least contend in the division. I didn't think the 49ers were going to be as good as they were when I said that, but now it's going to be a wild division out there. I'm in a group chat with a bunch of Seahawks fans. And it's getting rowdy.
It's going to be, you could potentially have 3 teams fighting for a playoff spot in that division alone. And now that there's 2, there's an additional wild card team. It's all kinds of pandemonium in terms of trying to figure out who's going to make it. Because the NFC, you guys got your division and also NFC South with Zach's division has teams all over the place competing for playoff spots. And I can't say the same for your division, Evan. Sorry. Maybe in a year or 2.
Wait.
Well, plus
early.
There is an extra playoff
too early.
What's that?
But are the Rams the worst team in the NFC West now?
It comes down to how your boy Kyler performs, in my opinion, right? If he comes into the season playing hot, then you could either be right there with the 49ers if Kyler plays really well, or if he struggles and Cliff Kingsbury struggles, you could be right there with the Rams fighting. I feel like the Seahawks you're just consistent, middle of the division performers every year because Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll just managed to win that 9 to 11 game range every year. Just somehow, some way, they just do that. So that's kind of my ceiling. Your ceiling is as high as it gets, and your floor is as low as it gets, just based on your second-year quarterback. Yep.
And not to plug an earlier podcast, but Zach, don't you think the Rams are going to win that division?
I think they're going to be the 5th best team next year
in the NFL.
Whoa! And gets the Rams in his top 10 and doesn't have the Packers.
Hey, Cam. Let me just tell you why I got to that conclusion. Was it a lot of NFL deep dive analysis? No, it was just a bunch of these. It was a bunch of these right here. Next thing you know, the Rams are the 5th best team in the NFL for the 2020 season.
Here's an unrelated question. Cam and Evan, were you guys hanging out with Gardner Minshew? Did you guys talk about something before you got on here? What's up with this stash game
right here?
Side, that was so cold-blooded. I love it.
I mean, I'm confused right now. I got all these white boys coming up in here with mustaches. I don't know what the hell is happening right now.
I'm impressed with what you're working up there in California, but I'm trying here, but work in progress. But
there are worse people to model your life after than Gardner Minshew, let me tell you.
Got the headband going, I'm all in,
Yeah. Although I will say, Evan, Cam and Zach are taken men. Us 2 are not, which it makes us, I think, probably less incentivized to have a mustache. But I guess when you're stuck in isolation, it doesn't matter, right?
Well, Zoom dates,
Yeah.
How much value?
That's told me to do it. So I was like, well, if my girlfriend's going to tell me I can do it, then why would I not?
They sign off.
Don't say hold back for growing one.
Shout out Beth. But So Cam, you mentioned CeeDee Lamb a little bit earlier. Do you think with the Jaguars, looks like their picks in here, do you think they go with a wide receiver here? What do you think the Jacksonville Jaguars do? Do they go with Lamb?
I hope they draft a lineman. So then the Browns.
Yeah. Yeah, but they got DD to God over there. They don't need anyone else.
So I really hope they pick,
Westbrook, get out of here, dude.
How do you pronounce their defensive lineman's name? Their edge rusher that is like ridiculously good. I have no idea how to pronounce it. What's up?
Ngakoue?
Yeah, Ngakoue. So I'm hearing very strong rumors that that he could very potentially get traded in this draft for a first round pick because the Jaguars are trying to rebuild, and he would be one hell of a get, especially because I think he's only in year 3 or 4 and has been one of the best pass rushers in the league. So there's a chance they draft someone in that angle and trade him away. But right now, you would think Javon Kinlaw, defensive tackle from obviously my South Carolina team, so I'm a little biased. You think CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy would be up there because they could definitely use a little bit of improvements across from DJ Chark. But honestly, right now, nothing is off the table because they have a lot of needs. I mean, there's still a lot of linemen available. You got the Alabama linemen still available. I mean, this is a really interesting situation. I kind of thought they would trade too. I'm surprised by this.
Yeah, I think you can see tackle here. Double tackle.
Zach knows something that we don't. Look at his face. All right, here we go.
All right,
Zach. I'm not sure if you're ahead or not too, but y'all are about to find out pretty darn quick who's the pick.
I'm sure I'm last.
Yeah, Mav, last predictions. Who'd they take?
Top lineman on the board, Alabama.
Yeah.
Jedrick Wills. That's an interesting one. Yeah.
I'm gonna say
not it.
Say CeeDee. Do it.
Oh, wow, that's a good pick. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet.
Oh. Okay.
Wow, that's a good pick. Wow. I don't know why I didn't consider that. That was the most obvious one, too, because AJ Boye and Jalen Ramsey are both gone. Henderson was like right behind Okudah in terms of cornerback rankings. Funny enough, actually, Zach, I heard your Falcons were like obsessed with him. I heard they were trying to trade up big time to get him. Great pick, actually. That's actually a great pick.
They were CJ Henderson. He definitely seems like he definitely, from a stats standpoint, I think he recorded the most interceptions in Florida history. I'm not sure if I read that right or not, but regardless, he comes from a school that breeds cornerbacks. You're looking at guys like Vernon Hargreaves, who was like one of the most scoped out players to come into the NFL. Obviously his career hasn't necessarily followed suit, I would argue, but CJ Henderson was a great pick. The fact that he was going to go top 10, I think was maybe a little bit of a reach. I had him going maybe in like the later teens to even like 20, but regardless, this is obviously a big need for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's a Florida boy. He gets to stay in his home state. I think it's, all around a pretty good pick.
And I'll go out there and say it. When Leonard Fournette gets injured, he can also double as a running back. So that's a win.
Good point. I will say, as somebody from the who supports an SEC team and who's in the same situation, place as Florida, and we play him pretty frequently. I've seen Henderson play. I am not at all surprised as a top 10 pick. He's a man that has size. He's tall. He's fast. He ran under a 4.40 for someone who's taller at the cornerback position. He knows he has a knack for having interceptions and turning the ball over for defense. I'm not at all surprised as a top 10 pick, and there's a reason a lot of teams were buzzing about him because he's the best corner outside of Okudah, and you're getting him at the low top 10. I think around this range, him, any of the receivers that we talked about, Kinlaw, they're all in the same boat. So it's really just comes down to need. So I'm not at all, I think it's a great pick for Jacksonville. I don't think they really passed up on anyone much better by taking him. So, can't fault anyone for addressing their needs at that point.
Cleveland was quick to make their pick here.
Yeah, seriously.
How have we not had a single trade in the top 10 yet, guys?
It's gone chalk. I think everyone's pretty happy with who they've gotten so far based on their needs. The Browns are probably thrilled because they can draft arguably the top tackle on the entire board since the Giants kind of overtook for Andrew Thomas, and now they don't have to trade for Trent Williams. So I'm mad.
You have to see Dedrick Wills get picked here. I mean, I can't see him slipping any more. I thought he was arguably going to get in New York, and he didn't.
Yeah, unless they prefer the other one, but that'd be hard
or
to believe.
Tristan from Iowa. He's really good. And you also got the guy out of Louisville as well.
Yeah, they won't go Becton. Becton will be high here, but
yeah.
All right, here we go. I think Zach's probably already seen it, but
I just saw it like 10 seconds ago here.
So now you're like closer to us because I'm about to see it, unless Goodell takes his sweet time. Yeah.
Yep.
It's coming up now. Yep, makes sense. It's
Dedrick Wills going to the Cleveland Browns.
It's what they needed. The only question I had was, first of all, that's definitely the pick they needed because they need to get Baker some protection, and it's a great way to build around the offense. My only thought process was there's a very strong chance Odell Beckham Jr. gets traded, so I was curious to see if they try to replace him with a CD or a Judy or a Henry Ruggs. And it's kind of crazy to think that we're about to leave the top 10 and none of those guys have been picked, but that just shows the depth of this draft because nobody's concerned about getting a wide receiver now because they know they can get him at any point in the draft. It's pretty wild.
Well, because that's the thing. You guys talk about all these great value picks, but it's like no one has really overpicked to this point either, with the exception of the Giants. And that was more like, if they take the other linemen, then we're saying, it's all been chalk. So it's like no one's really overpicked to this point. I think it's just a pretty deep talent pool. I don't know.
But if you look at the next three picks, we have the New York Jets, the Vegas Raiders, and then the San Francisco 49ers. I can see three receivers going off the board just like that. Do you think that the Jets go with a receiver in this pick? And if so, who do you think it is? Do you think it's Ruggs? Do you think it's Judy? Do you think it's CeeDee Lamb or somebody else?
I'm going to say the last lineman goes here, and then the
Do you
receiver.
think Tristan Wirfs goes?
Yeah.
This is a tough one. If a receiver were to go to the Jets, I would probably honestly see it being CeeDee Lamb. I think they would want like one of the bigger body, like kind of possession kind of receivers because he's so good at that.
Right.
I guess the better question is, if you were a GM, let's put Need aside for a little while. If I'll ask all three of you this question: if you were a GM and you had your choice between those three guys, who would you take out of those three? Ruggs, Lamb, or Judy?
Cam, who would you go with?
Yeah,
I'm taking Lamb.
Taking CeeDee Lamb. How about you, Ev?
I don't know. I kind of like Judy.
Okay. How about you, Zach?
I weirdly see Judy fitting in with that system better. But when you look at Sam Darnold, I mean, he's just, even back at his USC days, he's a very he's got like a good zip on the ball. Anything from like 15, 20 yards is just straight money. And so I think just because of that aspect, I think he would get along with a guy like CeeDee Lamb a little bit better. Someone who's more possession oriented, he's more of a possession receiver. His route running is great. I think Jared Judy's also a phenomenal route runner, but more of like a deeper threat, I guess. I just see CeeDee Lamb being a great possession receiver, reliable receiver for Sam Darnold, someone who's in need of wide receivers. Robbie Anderson just left. He's now on the Panthers. So they definitely need a need at that position. I just think they need to, instead of going for like the deep threat in Henry Ruggs or going for the flashier receiver in Jerry Judy, I think the best pick for them is to just keep it aligned to the most viable possession receiver in the draft and go.
Let me just say this though. I'm not asking them. I'm asking if you were a GM and you could have your pick of the three to be on your team, who would you pick?
I would go with CeeDee Lamb.
You go with Lamb?
Yeah.
It's funny because I would go Judy. So we have an even keel split here. We got two people going Lamb and two people going Judy.
Why would you go Judy?
I like Judy's route running ability more than anyone else's in this draft. He just runs such clean, crisp routes, and his ability to like make plays after the catch on short yardage, like quick, well-run routes, is just very enticing to me. I just see a lot of like NFL footwork in there with all the tape that I've seen. I really don't think you can go wrong with any of the three, right? Like all three of them have been terrific. Ruggs, you're kind of getting another Tyreek Hill kind of player. Like he just has that insane breakaway speed. So even him, I could definitely see him being a pick. I think it just really comes down to what your team more needs. I've always been a route running guy when you have a quarterback that can that can throw the ball well. I've always been a route running guy, so that's just kind of why I would go Jeudy. He just has that makeup to him.
I think San Francisco is freaking out right now because I think the missing puzzle piece that they need is a scary top tier receiving threat, and I think they want either CD or Jerry Jeudy. And now Henry Ruggs is no step down. Don't get me wrong, but I think those two guys are at more of a NFL caliber level than Henry Ruggs would necessarily translate to quickly. And plus, don't the 49ers already have Goodwin? They don't need another Henry Ruggs, essentially. You know, they don't need another guy like that.
Goodwin.
Marquise Goodwin?
Come on.
Now, Marquise Goodwin ain't doing nothing for the 49ers. The 49ers got my boy. The 49ers got my boy. No, 49ers got my boy. Deebo Samuel is their number one.
They have Deebo, and that's it. They got Deebo.
And George Kittle.
But Deebo's nice, though. Yeah.
Deebo is nice.
Hell yeah, Deebo's nice. Don't you sleep on my South Carolina boy. You guys talk like there's nothing. Never balled out in the Super Bowl.
Marquise Goodwin.
The Chiefs have proven that just throwing a bunch of fast receivers out there also works.
But you also need Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback to be able to chuck the ball 70 yards down the field.
Yeah.
They got Jimmy G. They got Jimmy G, dude.
Yeah, Jimmy Gordon is a decent game manager and nothing else in my playbook. So I don't know. So there's a very strong chance actually that the 49ers of all the teams we talked about trade out of that pick though, because they only have, I think it's 6 or 7 selections overall, and they have no second, third, or fourth round picks. So if they can get somebody to give up, let's say like a mid-20s pick and get a second round and a third round pick out of it, there's a very strong chance they take that possibility because wide receiver is still something they can address later on. And I don't think any of these other positions available right now are ones that they necessarily need because they don't really have a lot of holes on their team. So
didn't they trade to get this pick with Indy?
Yeah, we got DeForest Buckner out of it, which seeing the way this draft is playing out, I'm very happy that we traded the pick because we got this monster defensive lineman, and his youth coming over here. So they traded with us, but the reason they traded with us, I think, is to trade again, if possible. They have 2 picks in the first round, so I think they'll try to trade one or both to try to get more later picks. It makes sense. They're a team that should be getting more depth anyway. It's not like they need a ton of big profile players.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to bring up is let's not forget that Jamal Adams is having a temper tantrum with the general manager of the New York Jets, so much that he's voiced publicly multiple times he doesn't want to play for the organization anymore. Do you think they try to it's crazy like what he's done? I mean, he's gone public with all this stuff. Do you think they actually go with a safety here and they actually don't go with an offensive player and try to trade him at a later point in time?
Who would they take at safety over the potential?
Xavier McKinney maybe, or Grant Delpre?
It seems way too early for those guys, though, in terms of where they're supposed to be going.
I mean, you could take McKinney here, but I just think it's premature to assume that, you can't, kind of rectify things with, your stud and almost, I don't know, the face of your team, sort of. Best player.
He would serve as great trade bait too. I wouldn't be surprised if Jamal's not on the Jets to start this season.
They could also go edge rusher here. Chassian from LSU. I always forget how to pronounce.
Oh, he's great.
He's a beast, and he's available, and somebody that the Jets like to build from their interior, as we know. So it would not be surprising to see them, go edge rusher. I don't know. This is it's pretty up in the air. I also, with my coverage being a little bit slower than Zach's, I'm sure he knows more than I know, but.
I just saw it.
Whoa. All right.
Look at how big that guy is.
Look at his basketball highlights. The dude balls. He's from Highland Springs, Virginia.
Holy crap.
Look at his dad is huge. Or it's,
Hey, wow, this is interesting. Now you got to run on receivers potentially with the Raiders in San Francisco picking. I'm so curious to see what Tampa Bay does now that they've done all the things that they've done in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, with Gronk coming.
You got to think they'll address defense, right?
Yeah, they'll have to beef up their defense or their offense or their offensive line. Yeah.
But the problem is, I think the next best offensive lineman is much further down after
No, they still have one guy. One more guy. I think Tampa Bay could actually luck out here. So Tampa Bay could get Tristan Wirtz, the offensive tackle from Iowa, who I am really high on. After him, though, there is definitely a drop off in talent.
That's true.
That took was nice.
Yeah. Now that the Jets didn't take Lamb or Judy, do you think the 49ers now keep the pick to take whichever one doesn't get picked here by the Raiders?
I think receivers.
I think so.
I think their pick value goes up a lot, though.
I don't know. I think the need at wide receiver trumps the importance to get other picks by trading this one off. Like I think so now Gruden's on the clock. I wonder what Gruden's up to. He's definitely going to go after CeeDee Lamb. I'm telling you, like CeeDee Lamb's going to go to the Raiders, and then San Francisco is going to have Jerry Jeudy fall into their arms. Like I bet you they didn't even expect that they could get him at this point at 14 or at 13. But I think the Las Vegas Raiders get CeeDee Lamb, and then I think the 49ers get Jerry Jeudy, and that's going to be a phenomenal pick as the other twin receiver opposite of your South Carolina boy, Cy.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's pretty.
We'll see.
That's a nasty team.
Yeah, I mean that becomes a problem for teams. The fact that they're able to get one of these stud receivers at this. I mean, whew.
Y'all do realize Javon Kinlaw is still on the board, though, right? There's a very strong chance he gets picked in these next couple picks.
That's true.
I'm not super high on Kinlaw, to be honest.
You probably don't know much about him if you're not high on him.
I mean, when you compare, I'm sure he's good. Like I've seen his highlight film, but if you compare him to like a guy like Derek Brown, there's just so much of a talent difference, in my opinion.
I very strongly disagree. It's his high motor that's incredible at the interior line position.
Sorry to cut you guys off, but I have some Homer bias news. I got a buddy that's a good Jets fan. I don't know if he watches the pod. It's Lou and I's good friend down in Raleigh. Big Jets fan. I saw a text come up at the top because we got a group message going. He goes, "Best tackle of the draft. I'm happy." I'm like, ooh, I don't know, man.
What does he know about offensive tackles? Like, anytime someone says, "Oh yeah, we got the best offensive tackle on the draft," and you pick like the third guy, I'm like, how do you know? Like, it's one thing to say, "Oh, I think Javon Kinlaw is as good as Derek Brown," or he's around that level, because at least you can evaluate defensive linemen a little bit better. None of us are sitting there watching offensive tackle highlights. Get out of here.
Yeah, I got no clue.
Well, you're also an offensive tackle from Louisville. Okay, yeah, you're blocking guys that went to Chapel Hill and Duke. Like, congratulations! Like, you're playing some terrifying defensive players in the ACC. Like, get out of here with that.
He's got a nice left hook though, and he can push a truck, so I feel good about that. I mean, that was some quality footage. Do you guys see that? I don't know.
I was really into this left hook situation.
Yeah, that was clean.
Well, and if you actually think about skills that translate, like being a big man in basketball, like you need good footwork, that translates to an offensive lineman, right?
Yep.
There have been so many good
whatever makes
football players.
Didn't Stoneberg play Highland Springs in like football?
I don't think so.
Couldn't tell you.
Pretty sure.
You know what I'm going to crack up about, Zach? The fact that you were talking about Kinlaw not being, that great, and your Falcons are probably going to pick him, and I'm going to.
I literally have texted people. I said, I swear, if we get Kinlaw, I'm going to be so pissed.
You guys really apparently want him.
I do not want Kinlaw at all. I'm going to be so angry if we draft him. I've told people this for the last week. I said, if Kinlaw goes to the Falcons, I'm out.
Here we go. Raiders pick. Here we go.
I just saw it come in. I'll keep a straight.
Oh, I didn't even see the pick.
Henry Ruggs.
Oh, shoot.
Speedster.
I just found that out with you guys. That's crazy.
I was saying teams are really big on. He's just got that insane next level speed that you don't come across anymore these days.
So wait, who do the Raiders have receiver wise right now?
They got Antonio Brown.
Their best potential receiver was actually their tight end.
Yeah. Oh my guy! I can't believe I forgot his name.
Oh, I love the basketball highlights they're showing. They gotta
more basketball highlights, dude. I love.
Oh yeah, you're about to see it.
Darren Waller the baller. They also got Renfro in the slot, but.
Oh yeah.
No, we're forgetting about Chargers, ex-Chargers receiver.
Oh, Tyrell. Yeah, Tyrell's not bad.
He had a good season last year.
Yeah,
but that's
so
probably
fast.
why they went Ruggs, because Tyrell's a big body end zone receiver, and you
That's
put
a
a
good
burner, next to him, and then you put Waller in the middle. Now you got three different levels of receivers, right? Like you got one
He's
guy that
so
can
fast.
take the top off, one guy that can win the jump ball, and one guy that's a big tight end in the middle. That's a great
No doubt.
top
No
three
doubt.
right there. And they're all pretty young too. Tyrell is still pretty young as well, so that's a good core. You guys losing your mind over the highlights over here?
He's just piping on dudes.
Did you see the video, Evan, of him just like one hand jamming it like from like the paint?
The free throw line. I was like,
Yeah.
Look at how happy Gruden is. He's so happy.
Yeah, this story about his friend that died young too is actually a really cool story, and he throws up the the three fingers or whatever for his own number. It's a good story.
That's awesome. No, I mean, I'm not at all surprised Ruggs went before those two guys. I'm telling you guys, it's the perfect fit with Tyrell and Waller.
That is a good fit. Yeah, I like that.
The speedster next to two big, strong guys. That's a great pick.
Yeah,
also, Hammer, you're in special territory, man. With you coming on with the last guest today, you're welcome to stay as long as you want. All the other guys had their pick and jumped off. So whatever your heart desires.
Dude, I'm loving this. It's good to catch up with the guys too. Plus, this is a fun draft so far.
My man.
I'm gonna see if Brian wants to come on.
So is San Francisco be Judy or Lamb?
You know what I think is funny? We're supposed to do the top 10, but we're so excited about this draft, we just kept going.
It's actually been going pretty decently quick. I wonder if that's the virtual nature of it, that they were able to actually do it quicker. You think?
Yeah.
Actually.
Guys, that family looks so disappointed that he's a Raider now.
Dude, I'm so hyped. He's going to Vegas, man.
There wasn't even like a handshake. He begrudgingly put the hat on.
So what does Gruden's family look like? Let's get a. Yeah.
They just showed him.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Yo, Ev, you would appreciate this. In Hard Knocks last year, they, when Gruden wasn't coaching and it wasn't football focused, they like focused on his son, and his son wants to be a UFC fighter, and he's like
told me that.
He's so good.
Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, I was about to say, like, the son is huge. Is he like a trainer or what? But
he was like training like he John Gruden and his wife went to this like one like training facility, and he was like in the octagon like sparring with someone, and he was like kicking this dude's ass, and like afterwards he's like, yeah, I'm trying to be a UFC fighter, and like John Gruden and his wife are just like watching him just like destroy this guy, and that was like the end of Hard Knocks, and like everyone had more questions than they had to begin with.
Is he wearing a robe?
That's hilarious.
He's definitely wearing a robe.
Yo, he'll fit in great in Vegas.
I don't hate it. Yeah, I don't hate it.
Really well.
That's something people will pay money to watch.
They've actually built a nice little offense there. I mean, Josh Jacobs is legit. Derek Carr is trash, but maybe you saw that.
They got Marcus Mariota though.
They got good old Marcus Mariota back up.
Now we're talking.
Who knows? Maybe Mariota will pull a Ryan Tannehill.
Ev's gonna become a Vegas Raider fan. I'm telling you, at some point.
Nah, man, I'm gonna become a Titans fan. I've already decided when I give up on the Redskins who I'm picking.
At that point, you should just move to Nashville, Ev.
Well, see, and there's buzz that the Orioles might move to Nashville, which is like, long shot, not actual buzz. But then it'd be, you get the whole picture together. I can stick with the Orioles, become a Titans fan. We're good. Life's good.
So guys, for Tampa Bay, do you think, or not for Tampa Bay, for San Francisco, do you think they go with Judy or do you think they go with CeeDee Lamb? Obviously, the pictures, the picks has to be a receiver, right?
Yeah, I think it's one of the two.
We will see. It would be hard.
Schefter's on though. What is Schefter saying?
The reason this is all going so fast is because we somehow still have
the Bucks moved up to 13.
Wait, what? They were next.
Wait, that doesn't make any sense. It says the Bucks are 13 and 14.
Have you sure you heard that right?
Yeah, Schefter.
No, I'm looking at it right now. It says the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 13-14.
Wait, but I think
guys,
Zach,
what if
I think he said who they're picking too. I didn't hear who they're picking, but I think he said who they want. I didn't hear it.
that's not?
I have the audio on like 0.
Oh, they moved up to 13 without trading their 14th away?
Lyman, they're getting worse.
Oh no, they traded one pick.
Yeah,
Wow.
Why would they trade with San Francisco? Everyone in the world knows who San Francisco is going to get.
maybe they thought they would take worse.
Did they give up 14 for 13 and then just give them like a later round pick? Is that what they did?
I assume.
I guess. I don't understand why that would. Like, everyone and their mother knows who the San Francisco 49ers are going to draft. They're going to draft a wide receiver.
Well, but you really never know with a guy like Wirfs with how far he fell. I mean, some people thought, one of the top tackles in the draft. I mean, you never know. But yeah, I mean, it seems odd.
Yeah.
The Niners just got do you guys know what they got in the draft or in the trade?
No idea.
Not yet.
Because the Niners probably just got a free pick for nothing at this point.
Yeah, that seems odd.
This is interesting.
Got to protect.
This is so unusual.
Well, you got your trade side. It's not that exciting. It's a 1.
I know, right?
Wait, so what were the actual terms of the trade? Because, yeah, it just looks like they swapped.
It's probably a swap in like a 7th or something.
Yeah.
Bruce Arians is living his best life.
Smart move by the 49ers, too. Take advantage on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 49ers got Brady, and they gave up one draft pick. So Brady's going to come to San Francisco and then take Jimmy Garoppolo's job again.
I mean, I have to say though, when you really think about like in terms of risk reduction here, like if I assume the Bucs really wanted a tackle because you got to think that was a need for them to protect Brady. You have pretty much everything else, especially on offense, in place. And I mean, yeah, you think the Niners, you assume they're taking a wide receiver, but you just don't know. And it's like if you miss out on this tackle, then there's a big drop off. So it's like shoot your shot when you got it, get your guy. I mean, it's almost just like a hedge move,
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a call between the GMs basically with the 49ers GM being like, you better trade with me. I'm going to take the guy you want. They're probably paying a little like cat and mouse or something. And
yeah,
like,
that's true.
I'll give you a 6th rounder or something.
hey, John Lynch, who are you taking? I don't know. I'm thinking tackle.
Yep, exactly. That sounds like some petty stuff we would be doing, but hey, it's smart strategy. So.
Oh, 100%. I've seen all 3 of you guys in the fantasy football drafts. I don't trust any one of y'all.
We are not above that behavior at all.
We're never taking who Evan wants, though. Evan's always Evan wants some dude like 8 rounds later in the second round.
But
Evans in his own draft
recently.
True. Although that was built upon free agency, not your drafting. Let's just be frank here.
Got me there.
I love that you were able to prove the concept that stacking an entire team with the Redskins worked. But I will say a ton of that was predicated on the fact that David Johnson was still your first pick.
He had like his greatest season ever.
That was a really good strategy. I think I need to go back there at some point, but
I like it. Well, I'm going to try to do it with the Cards this year. Give me all of that offense, dude.
Yeah, Evan's the type of guy that like you have like your pick of DeAndre Hopkins or Julio Jones, and he drafts Jason Campbell, who's like not even like a roster spot anymore.
Did you just name drop Jason Campbell in this podcast?
Shout out Jason Campbell. I hope he listens to the podcast.
Yeah, let's shoot him a DM.
I must be really far behind. I literally just got the pick in.
Tristan Wirfs.
Oh, okay, never mind. Maybe I am on time.
That's what we should do next podcast. Get the most famous person we know on. Who would that be? John?
John, for sure.
It's actually
Although I have been mentioned by the lead character of the league. He did sing me a song and wish me happy birthday. So there's a little plug to fantasy football right there.
Wait, which character?
Pete, dude. Pete Eckhart.
Really?
Zach.
That's cool.
Zach, I got a good one for you.
What?
Ben Higgins?
Oh, Bachelor contestant? Yeah. That would be a good one. Let's get him on the podcast.
So his fiance. Do you know where she went to high school?
Is that the new one?
Yeah, the girl. He just got engaged.
Oh, where'd she go to school?
Broad Run. She's Taylor Clark's sister. You know Taylor Clark?
Wait, Taylor Clark was the baseball player?
Yeah, he's with the Diamondbacks. Yeah.
What?
Play Little League. Yeah, I found this out yesterday. It blew my mind. Yeah,
dude, Taylor Clark struck me out like every single time I went up to bat against him because he was like the nice 13-year-old throwing 70 miles per hour. I didn't even see the ball when it hit the mitt.
Cam, you know what cracks me up? Zach's reaction versus ours when Evan sent that. Evan sent it in a group with me and Cam earlier, and Cam goes, who's Ben Higgins? And then I'm just like, I don't care even mildly enough to respond. And then Zach's like, wait, what?
That's really interesting. This is gonna be great podcast content for Megan, who's actually
a little off the rails here.
She's gonna love that.
Going off the rails.
Yeah, I was watching a podcast and I was like mind blown because he was like, yeah, her brother is a professional baseball player, and I knew the last name was Clark, so I was like, well, this seems like a long shot, but I'm gonna Google it for sure. Sure enough.
That is so interesting, man.
Taylor Clark playing professional right now?
Yeah, I think he made his debut last year with the Diamondbacks. He actually did pretty well.
Okay.
Wow.
He wasn't like a big prospect, so we'll see how he does. But I mean, he was, he's got a shot. I think size.
When's JB gonna make his appearance for the draft?
He's been sliding, man. His stock is dropping.
Atlanta's 2 picks away. Or 3 picks away.
All right, maybe that's what we can do. We can close on the Atlanta pick, Zach.
Yeah, sure.
That's perfect. I was thinking the same thing. Also, very, very strong chance Denver also goes receiver too. Get someone across from Portland Sutton for Drew Lock to throw the ball to.
Ooh, that'd be fun. So I like Sutton. Sutton's nice.
Okay, so Sutton's nice. You get a Judy or a CeeDee Lamb next to him, and you got Noah Fant, who's a really young tight end. All of a sudden, you got 3 super young guys to build your piece around, and they also got Melvin Gordon this offseason. So,
true.
If Drew Lock can play well, that's a pretty well-rounded offense, at least in terms of offensive playmakers. But I'm really curious to see what the Niners had. Defending NFC champions, this is a big pick for them.
Oh, look at the kiddos! Look at the kiddos.
Yeah, Sugg just wrote into our group chat saying how cool it is watching all these like coaches and GMs just hanging out with like their families rather than being like stressed as hell in the war room.
Yep.
Like
it actually is, yeah.
And like his kids are just like hanging out with him. It's so weird.
I probably shouldn't admit this to the fans that are somehow still watching our stream right now, but it's gotten to the point of the podcast where I'm eating my dinner that I haven't eaten for the last 2 hours. I'm like, I'm hungry. We're supposed to go 10 picks here. This is so classic us.
Yeah, guys, I wanted to give Brian Jones a shout out because he said something really funny like 10 minutes before the draft started that I wanted to share with you guys. He was like, because of the isolation rules with every single NFL team right now where you can only have like one person in each room and there's really only 2 or 3 people that are like directly involved in terms of like proximity of each other. And the reason he brought that up was he was like, who's going to stop Jerry Jones from making the most absurd pick? Like a couple of years back, Jerry Jones wanted to pick Johnny Manziel and literally had to get held back by not only his son, but like other people in the front office from like pressing that button and being like, the Dallas Cowboys are going to draft Johnny Manziel. So like now that no one has the physical ability to like hold him back from like making some outrageous pick, like I wonder if Dallas is just going to do something crazy this year.
Well, did you guys not see the report today about how Jerry Jones said he doesn't want anyone in the room with him and that he's going to make the pick? I'm not messing with you. This is a legitimate report.
Exactly my point. This is horrible news for any Cowboys fan.
I mean, I guess that's what happens when you're a very, very rich man. I have no idea how else to put it. That sounds like Jerry Jones, though. I'd be surprised if it was anything else. Man, they're really making us wait for this 49ers pick, huh?
Yeah.
This is a long commercial break.
Dude, my friend in this group chat just pointed out that Wirfs was 2 when Tom Brady won his first Super Bowl and now is getting drafted to protect him. Like he's grown up watching him play.
That's hilarious, dude.
Concept.
That's so wild to think about. That's so crazy.
I mean, the Bucks offense is going to be gross.
Oh man, if they get Judy, so do they get Judy or CD? This is a crazy pick.
I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I think the Saints will still have the better team. Even offensively, I actually have more faith in the Saints just because of their fact that they're established. And I think Drew Brees at this point in their career is better than Tom Brady, just given how well he performed last year versus the regression that we've seen from Brady. So as exciting as the Buccaneers are, I think the Saints are still a team to beat in that division. Like, obviously, the Buccaneers are still in all the headlines with the recent moves, but
yeah.
Oh, we got more kids.
I must be really behind y'all.
You know what would be wild is if Jerry Jeudy doesn't go and Atlanta gets their pick, and like Atlanta just like drafts another receiver. Like that would be the most absurd thing.
John.
And they would all be from Alabama too. They would be Julio, Calvin Ridley, and then Jerry Jeudy. We'll see when they get drafted.
I think my dad just walked in the frame in the middle of this podcast. What's up, Dad?
What's up, Mr. K?
Get him on.
Yeah, let's see what he wants. Who does he want the Colts to draft?
I think our viewership is probably gone by now, so.
Are you downstairs?
Yeah, I'm downstairs.
Gotcha.
Out of the way.
Oh, who's pick?
All right, come on. Let's get the ball rolling here. You guys made us wait long enough for this.
Get this woman out of the frame.
The coin flip.
The fact that people are booing Goodell virtually is like the best thing ever. Like he can't escape it.
Oh, that was Kyle Shanahan and his kids? That didn't look like him. Okay.
Oh, wow. They got a 2024 rounder for that trade. That's actually.
Oh, my God. What the heck?
That's insane value for one
Wait.
pick.
Something crazy just happened. Look at Zach's face.
Not expecting that.
What just happened?
What?
Zach is shook right now. I can't wait to see what happened. He's clearly well ahead of us.
Dude, this is absurd.
What is
I can't wait for you guys to see this.
Jordan Love, maybe?
This doesn't make any sense.
I can't even think of what it would be to be this crazy.
I know, right? Watch, it's just going to be CeeDee Lamb and Zach just pulling up.
Is it my boy?
Dude, this doesn't make any sense.
Zach, come
Wait,
on.
hold on. Don't say anything. Let's go, baby. Let's go. That's not surprising.
Why? They lost the kid from Oregon that went to the Indianapolis Colts, Buckner. But like they don't need to replace him, they need a receiver.
No, their foundation is their defensive line, man. That's how they were so dominant last season. You're clearly exhibiting Falcons philosophy, like don't fix your positions and move on to the next thing. I think is the
draft the shiny object.
That was a bizarre reaction, Zach.
Yeah, no, that was a complete overreaction. They took one of the highest rated players in the draft.
I completely disagree with that statement. They had the option to draft Jerry Jeudy, who's remarkably sound in his position, otherworldly, and he would fit the San Francisco scheme so well. I bet you Jimmy G is pissed right now.
Zach, how did the 49ers get to the Super Bowl last year? I'm curious.
Well, their defense for sure, but they also needed an offense to score points so they could beat teams more than 3-0, Cy.
Zach, I don't know how you can give them crap for getting to the Super Bowl and taking Patrick Mahomes down to the wire. It wasn't because they didn't have a receiver. Jimmy Garoppolo isn't going to thrive off having great receivers anywhere. Their whole system is zone running and then establishing their defense on the other end of the football. They're not throwing the ball much anyway. I mean, how many passes was Jimmy G attempting last year? Think about it. Their foundation is not throwing the football.
Which is why they lost. They need him to attempt more passes. The zone running scheme only works when you have a passing.
If you take Kyle Shanahan and tell him, hey, the way to win is to put the ball in Jimmy G's hand, he's going to laugh in your face. I think their philosophy has clearly been established in that they build a dominant defensive line, and they just added one of the highest-ranked defensive tackles in the draft to a line that's already great. I think that's a great pick for them. Think about it. The Giants going to the Super Bowl, beating the Patriots, the 49ers last year. Majority of teams that have built around their defensive lines have had a ton of success in this league, and I very much respect it. Like you said, you're really caught up in the shiny new object. I think it's smart to go with positions that you can build around and develop.
I just think there's a larger need on offense for the 49ers than there is a larger need on defense. I think, before this draft even started, I think no one would contest the fact that the 49ers had a top 5 defense in the NFL. So why try to make it number 1 when you have a guy like Jerry Jeudy who can literally be the instrument to completely change that offense and bring it to a new level that it certainly wasn't at last year in terms of their offense prevented them from beating the Kansas City Chiefs last year. Yes, their defense helped them stay in the picture, right? Like held them to 24 points, which was pretty, pretty legitimate. But in terms of offensive talent, you have an explosive receiver in Jerry Jeudy or CeeDee Lamb that would fit that role perfectly, and they decided to overlook that. I just don't understand it.
Maybe they didn't feel that way.
Guess what else they have, though, Zach?
What?
They have pick 31 in one of the deepest receiver drafts.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. They probably didn't. They probably didn't feel that way. And the smartest teams don't pick the flashiest players. The smartest teams pick the highest rated players on their draft, regardless of position. That is how you build the winning philosophy, and that's what the 49ers did. Javon Kinlaw in a lot of mock drafts was projected top 10, top 11. He was available to a team that has a loaded defensive line, and you add. I can speak to him. I'm a huge South Carolina fan. This man has an endless motor at like a 320-pound interior lineman that can continue to rush and never run out of energy. You add that to that line with Bosa and Eric Armstead and just all the depth they have, Solomon Thomas. Oh my gosh, that is scary to think about. Like you trade there's some serious irony in the fact that they traded DeForest Buckner to the Colts to get the 13th pick, traded 13th pick to get the 14th pick, and then they replaced Buckner with a young.
That's true. That is interesting.
There's clearly some good logic on there.
I'm just glad the Falcons didn't get this guy.
Your Falcons wanted Beasley big time, dude. Or not Beasley. They wanted Kinlaw big time to replace.
They probably did. I'm glad that they don't have to pick him. I think the Falcons are going to trade down, to be honest.
Yeah, because they didn't get Kinlaw.
Yeah, well, because we don't need the top 2 receivers unless we go for Xavier McKinney, which I think is too McSkinny. But he needs to put some weight on if he's going to be a safety for the Atlanta Falcons.
Zach, you should actually be upset right now, though, because the way I look at it is with the Niners taking Kinlaw, that puts you guys in a tough spot because Kinlaw was a clear top 15 prospect this year. They take Kinlaw. The other top 15 prospects that are left are receivers, and the Falcons do not need to be drafting a receiver right now. So if you can't trade down, then you're reaching for somebody potentially.
I think we're going to go with the Clavon Chiasen or Chiasen from LSU. Maybe. I would be okay with that. He's actually a relatively new guy to football. He's only played for a couple of years, but he's such an athlete and he's so dominant with blitz packages that I think he would actually be a pretty legitimate pick at this point, unless we do trade down. So we'll have to see what happens. Did anyone see who the Broncos got?
Not yet.
I'm seeing it right now.
There you go.
It's got to be one of the receivers.
Who did they get? I missed it.
Jerry Jeudy.
There
it is.
Oh, did they really?
It makes sense. It makes sense for Denver. Makes a lot of sense for Denver.
They really wanted
Drew Lock, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy.
Did anyone notice that no one in that household was clapping except for the kid?
Yeah.
I did not. They got to be stoked that they were able to get him at 15, though. I mean, he just fell to him. There was a lot of speculation that Elway would trade up to get one of those guys. So that's a great pick for them. I'm really intrigued by this, Zach, because now you guys are in a tough spot here. The 2 guys that I heard y'all wanted the most were Anderson and Kinlaw were the 2 that you guys apparently kept saying, hey, we want to try to get these guys. And I'm sure they weren't expecting the Niners to take Kinlaw. I'm sure they were sitting there thinking, hey, we're going to get Kinlaw at our pick. So they're probably a little bit shook and trying to figure out what to do right now.
Well, I think the Falcons stayed patient too, despite the fact that they wanted to trade some of their picks to go get a big defensive guy. And so I think that they probably had him on lock, and that was definitely a surprising selection there. So I'm not sure what we'll do. I wouldn't be surprised if we traded, and this was the first trade of the draft, which would be crazy how it's been this long without a trade.
Niners.
Or rumors of a trade, but What's up?
Let me just throw this out there.
With Tampa Bay. That's right.
Is there potential for Miami to have drafted Tua Tagovailoa and somehow get CeeDee Lamb at 18 to put out there with them?
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine hitting on Tua and CeeDee Lamb in the same draft?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's true.
But
That's
true. They need line.
What's up?
That would have been wild.
They need line help too, though. I mean,
they need a lot of help, but you take best available. Like I said, smartest drafters go best available.
These next 3 picks are going to be really interesting because Dallas is after Atlanta, and who knows what Jerry Jones is going to do.
To be honest, if I'm not picking wide receiver here, I don't want to be in this part of the draft because I feel like nobody you're getting right now is really a value. I feel like you're just like picking guys. Like this is now that the top tier of guys, in my opinion, have been drafted with the exception of Lamb. This is where I'm like I would rather be later in the draft at this point.
Yeah. As a Falcons fan, I want to see us trade down, but I would be okay with the Chiason pick. Just because, I mean, he is so good in blitz packages. I mean, he comes from every different corner of like it's just unbelievable to see how he can get to the quarterback super quickly. But he doesn't have a lot of experience with playing football. He's only played for a couple of years. He's still learning. I mean, he's obviously an athlete. He went to LSU. He starches people, but I'm not sure if he's worth the 16th pick. I would be okay with him. But I would like to see us primarily drop down and trade.
Zach, do you all need linebackers, though?
We do need linebackers, yeah. We have Deion Jones, who's solid, but we need an outside guy.
Patrick Queen and the guy from I'm blanking on his name for a second, but the guy from Oklahoma,
Kenneth Murray.
Those two are potential picks here too, because we haven't seen anyone outside Isaiah Simmons get picked to that position. So that's a strong potential.
I also wouldn't be surprised if in the pick is in, so the Falcons are not trading down. We're going to select somebody. I wouldn't be surprised if we went for maybe a safety here. There's some good safeties that would be slightly a reach at this point, but guys like Xavier McKinney or some other ones, it wouldn't be bad too. We also have Christian Fulton, who's a pretty good corner for LSU. I would be okay with that pick as well. So we'll see.
No, another thing we have to consider is this draft is really holding out on running backs. Like, there was potential for somebody like a DeAndre Swift or someone like that to go in the first round, but nobody has even talked about running backs in this draft. So that's an interesting proposition because you guys have Gurley. So I'm assuming you aren't taking your RB of the future at this point, but that's this is not the draft that you want to be in for running backs. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep. Hey, while we wait for this pick to come in, I know it's a little off topic, but I just saw the commercial for it. Y'all been watching The Last Dance?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Michael Jordan. Yeah. No.
You guys haven't seen The Last Dance?
I meant to watch it earlier this week, but I never got it.
You guys absolutely have to watch it. It's so entertaining and so far so well done. Both episodes. Definitely check them out. I just saw a commercial for it, so it came to my head. So well done.
I don't have cable, but it's a Netflix co-production, so I'm just waiting for it to come out on our service.
They're putting it on. They already put it on Netflix for people that don't live in the States. So
I have access to those other profiles, so I need to watch it finally.
Yep.
I pulled it up to check. I think it's in the UK maybe, and I can watch it there.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So while I have you guys,
it's like everywhere but the US, Australia too, like so much.
So while we wait to hear the Falcons pick, what's up? What's up, Cam?
I thought for sure it would go with Disney Plus when people were talking about like this doc on ESPN. I was like, oh well, I'm just never going to be able to watch it then because I don't have Disney and I don't have cable. But I was like, oh, it's a Netflix one. Okay, well I probably know about that one then.
So
but I hear it's like amazing.
So let me ask you guys something, because we're planning on jumping off after this Falcons pick. Where do you guys see Jordan Love going at this point?
Oof.
I think he could go any number of places. I think. I mean,
I don't know.
Like I heard some Steelers buzz, like jump up to take him. Maybe. I mean, I feel like the Colts consider it Cy.
We could consider trading up potentially. We don't like to do that very often, but we're very big on him.
I think you could go any number of places, to be honest.
He's got insane, in my opinion, has insane potential. Like, he's got such a high ceiling, but he's also such a high risk coming from where he came from and not having like amazing stats. So that's a pretty tough situation. All right, Zach's probably gonna find out who the Falcons are picking right here.
I'm nervous, dude.
Zach, you're welcome to give this one away. It's your pick, so we want to see a live reaction.
Zane, they haven't announced it yet, though.
Okay.
Who are the what's the latest buzz on who the Patriots are going to get for QB?
They said Jordan Love is somebody they like as well.
I heard they're doing it tonight.
What's up?
I heard they're not doing it tonight.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
Oh boy.
Maybe you don't tell us. Don't tell us.
Is that just his reaction to the new jerseys that they're wearing?
I was just to say that. Those are awful. Look at how
What
bad.
are you gonna kick me when I'm down, Cam? I gotta walk this. I'm gonna get another beer. I hate this pick. This is the worst pick. I've been so off in this corner for such a long time. Don't draft corners. Don't reach for them.
Oh no! They go TCU. We don't even know who they picked because he just yelled. We shouldn't get a corner. Went away. They might have gone TCU or Utah with either Jalen Johnson or. Wow, I have no idea because they just.
His reaction to everything, dude.
Oh dear.
No way! That is such a.
Fans in the background are going nuts for it.
Oh yikes!
This is what he gets for complaining about Javon Kinlaw and saying, "Oh, I don't want him. You should have gotten the other South Carolina guy, and now you guys reach." What a reach! Holy cow,
dude!
So can we just say that was at this point probably the worst pick of the draft thus far?
And to your point, Sai, you were just talking about how you wouldn't want to be in this spot. I mean, it was a tough spot, and I think they had a lot of better options out there. But
dude, that is a clear second rounder, in my opinion. I'm also surprised because there's other secondary options well ahead of him. This is amazing. When is Zach going to come back?
I was just going to say, the question is, does Zach end Mondays Down South off screen? Nope, he's here.
He's back. Zach, please put your headphones in. I think I can very easily say that up to this point, that is easily the worst pick of the draft by far and away. I'm not even trying to be rude. That is such an awful pick. It's not even like, oh my gosh, that was so bad.
That's it. Fire Dan Quinn. Fire Dan Quinn. I'm done. I'm done with the entire organization.
Wow, you could have had Xavier McKinney as a secondary option.
Dude. AJ Terrell has gone against, I'll bring it up again, ACC talent. Nobody. Who does Clemson play every year? Who is he guarding? That it's like, oh, I need to get him more so than Christian Felton or Xavier McKinney or Trayvon Diggs. Trayvon Diggs would have been a kind of a good pick. He's a corner for Bama.
You want to point to a perfect example? Look at the national championship game. He played against an NFL talent in Justin Jefferson, and what happened to AJ Terrell? He got absolutely burnt left and right. And
he got waxed.
The other thing is, it's not that he doesn't have potential. He's a clear second-round pick, but this is one heck of a reach getting him in the middle of the first round. I'm shocked by that.
Dude, I wasn't even high on him in the second round either. I thought he was by far the worst corner that was being talked about in terms of potentially going in the first round. It just didn't make any sense.
I'm shook. I'm actually very surprised by that pick.
We also had the opportunity to get a guy like Kenneth Murray, who would have been great for us, or Clavon Chiasen from LSU, who's a phenom in itself. I wouldn't be surprised if Jerry Jones gets him right now. His talent is unbelievable.
So you take back what you said about being happy that Javon Kinlaw got picked earlier? This is what you get, man. You make fun of my Gamecock, and you get stuck with a Clemson quarterback, which normally in college wouldn't be a bad thing, but in the NFL, we have proven to produce NFL talent if you've ever paid attention.
I'll admit it. We got the wrong guy out of the state of South Carolina.
There we go. Such sweet karma, baby. Such sweet karma. I think we probably ended on that, or else we'll be going on.
Just quickly, does Mike McCarthy know how Skype works? He's way up on the camera there.
I always forget that Mike McCarthy is with the Cowboys now. It's just so funny to think about.
Actually, I say we wait for this final pick. I want to see what Dallas does.
All right, fair. We'll give. Actually, can we give Miami's pick too? I know.
Sure.
I gotta get off, man. It's been.
Guys, what am I doing?
I need to get some food.
All right, Cam. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, thank you very much for sticking with us. I know that was quite the process and quite the draft we kept you around for. I'm sad that we have to end it on such a bad note with the Falcons making the worst pick of the draft thus far. Zach, I know you're not feeling too hot about that, but we'll let you end this episode so that you can at least sign off on a positive note. So go ahead, Zebo.
Sounds good. Well, thanks all for listening and tuning in once again. We had a lot of fun doing this and bringing on the variety of guests that we did. Unfortunately, I'm going to sit here and sulk about the Falcons pick. Hopefully we draft better in the next couple of rounds. But thank you guys for listening. This was Mondays Down South with Evan, Cy, and myself. And guys, I'll let you sign off before we close this out.
Peace out. HTTR. That's all I got to say. Chase Young.
Go Colts, baby. Take care, guys.
Go Falcons. See you guys.